Duke of Sussex is continuing his visit to the UK, which got off to a rocky start. He's been at Birmingham Children's Hospital today, where he celebrated the charity WellChild, which helps seriously ill children and their families. Prince Harry's first engagement in the country on Tuesday was overshadowed by his defeat in a court case against the publishers of the Mail and Mail on Sunday. Phil Mackey reports.
Doing what he enjoys most. Prince Harry with 7-year-old Alfie Hodgetts and his mum. They're being supported by one of the charities of which the Prince is patron.
It's raspberry and white chocolate.
Oh, really? WellChild helps children with complex medical needs and their families have quality time at home. He spent over an hour inside and still had time to stop on the way out. Well, this was the first of a 3-day visit for Prince Harry to the Midlands. This is ahead of the Invictus Games next year. What was noticeable was the lack of security, really. Private security guards, no police, and quite low-key, considering who he is. Harry, how painful was it to lose? It's a contrast to Tuesday, when the privacy case against Associated Newspapers was lost. He'd been at an event for the Invictus Games.
Every one of us believes that those who have served their country, and in particular those whose lives have been changed by that service, deserve more than our gratitude.
And to add to the drama, yesterday's scheduled press call with the Prince was cancelled. According to a source, it was because of the extreme heat. And there were contradictory statements about whether or not he and his family would be staying at Buckingham Palace. And there's still no word on whether his wife Meghan and their 2 children, Archie and Lilibet, will be joining him later in his trip. Today it was business as usual for working royals.
You can hear through the back of the thing.
The King and Queen were at London Zoo checking the health of a Humboldt penguin called Lannister.
Hello, Noah. Nice to see you, Noah.
While the Prince of Wales was out in the heat in Hastings.
You love the Lego movie?
Do.
You know who's obsessed with Lego? My son.
In Birmingham, there was a chance to chat Lego with Alec Hill, who's 12.
Is this the best ward in the hospital?
And to bring his visit back on track after adverse headlines. Phil Mackey, BBC News, Birmingham.
Well, let's get the latest from our senior royal correspondent, Daniela Relf, who is in Birmingham. Hasn't been the easiest week for Harry, Daniela?
No, Jane, it hasn't. And I think Prince Harry's team will be just a little bit relieved now to have left London and to be here in Birmingham with Prince Harry doing some of those engagements where he is clearly so comfortable. That legal defeat and tensions over where he would be staying made the London leg of this visit really tricky. But he is now in the Midlands, which means there is the possibility that his wife Meghan and his 2 children, Archie and Lilibet, will join him. Prince Harry's personal security team have been looking at the security arrangements to see if that could be possible. Now, Meghan is officially due to be here tomorrow morning with Prince Harry at the NEC in Birmingham to mark the 12-month countdown to the start of the Invictus Games, which is to be hosted in this city next July. We don't know at this stage whether she will be attending. And the other big unknown, will Prince Harry meet his father, the King? A family reunion somewhere outside of London is not off the table. Jane.
All right, Daniela, thank you. Daniela Relf in Birmingham.
Squaddies, I need you to sit with this for a second. 48 hours. That's how long it took the institution to go from Prince Harry loses a legal case, isn't that just tragic for him, to complete radio silence, because the man they wanted to paint as bitter, isolated and diminished spent his Wednesday on the floor of a hospital ward building Lego with a 12-year-old. No security detail trailing him like he's a threat to national safety. No entourage. No stiff, choreographed photo op. Just Harry doing what he actually does best. Showing up for people the world has stopped paying attention to. And somehow that's the story the tabloid machine didn't want you to notice. Let's rewind. Prince Harry landed back in the UK this week for what was supposed to be a fairly standard visit. Engagements tied to the Invictus Games, a WellChild appearance, the usual circuit. But before he'd even settled in, the headlines were already doing what they always do, leading with the negative. He lost his privacy case against the publisher behind the Mail and the Mail on Sunday. That's real, that happened, and nobody on this channel is going to pretend otherwise. But watch how fast that single legal outcome got stretched into the entire narrative of his trip. One case, one outlet's coverage. Suddenly, it's the headline for 3 straight days, layered over everything else he does, like it's supposed to define the whole visit. Then, right on cue, Tuesday's scheduled press moment mysteriously got pulled. The official reason? Extreme heat. Sure, because nothing says unprecedented heatwave like London having a normal summer day. And conveniently, that cancellation landed right when questions were swirling about where Harry and his security team would even be staying. A mess that, let's be honest, traces straight back to the ongoing fight over his UK protection that this channel has covered from every angle. You know the drill by now, squaddies. Create the confusion, let it dominate the cycle for 48 hours, and then act shocked when people ask why Harry's trip started rocky. It didn't start rocky, it was made to look rocky. Here's where it gets good. Harry leaves London, leaves the epicentre of the spin cycle, and heads to Birmingham for WellChild, the charity he's been patron of for years, supporting kids with complex medical needs and the families holding everything together around them. And the second the cameras catch him there, something shifts. He's not managing a narrative. He's not performing a role. He's sitting with a 7-year-old named Alfie and his mum, present in a way that doesn't need a script. He spends over an hour inside, and even on the way out, he stops. He doesn't rush. He doesn't have a handler cutting it short because the motorcade's waiting. And notice this detail, because it matters more than it seems. Minimal security. Private guards, no police convoy, low-key by design. Let that sink in for a second, squaddies. This is a man who has spent years and real money and real legal battles fighting for adequate protection in this country. The Ravek saga alone could fill 10 more videos on this channel. And yet here he is, choosing to show up for sick children in a setting deliberately stripped of spectacle, because the moment isn't about him. It's about Alfie. Compare that to what working royals looked like on the very same day. While Harry was on a hospital floor talking Lego with a 12-year-old named Alec, the King and Queen were at London Zoo, greeting a penguin named Lannister for the cameras. And the Prince of Wales was out in the heat doing his own separate engagement in Hastings. Now, I want you to ask yourself something the tabloid machine desperately does not want you asking. What are the odds, genuinely what are the odds, that on the exact days Prince Harry is drawing international coverage in the UK, the rest of the family just happens to schedule their own public appearances too? This isn't coincidence, squaddies. This is what we've been calling out on this channel for months. It's the institution's oldest trick. You can't out-charisma Harry, you can't out-warm him, so instead you flood the same news cycle with your own content so the editors have something else to slot in. A penguin greeting, a walkabout in Hastings, anything that lets the rota write, meanwhile working royals, right underneath his name, just to manufacture the illusion of competition where there isn't any. Because here's the truth the palace can't spin away. Nobody is going back and forth between Harry comforts a sick child for an hour and the king said hello to a penguin and coming away thinking those two things are the same tier of story. One is a man doing the actual work of compassion. The other is a scheduling department's press release wearing a crown. Of course, the coverage couldn't just sit with the good stuff. It had to manufacture 2 more storylines to chew on. First, will Meghan show up? She's expected to join Harry the next morning in Birmingham to mark the 12-month countdown to the Invictus Games arriving in the city. Harry's own security team has reportedly been assessing whether that's workable. Notice that phrase, assessing whether it's workable. That's not a scheduling quirk, squaddies. That's the direct ongoing cost of a security dispute that never should have existed in the first place. A father wanting his wife and children to be able to safely stand next to him in the country of his birth shouldn't require a logistics operation. But here we are. Second storyline, the press just could not resist. Will Harry cross paths with his father? Now, long-time squaddies already know where I stand on this one. We've talked at length on this channel about the King's track record here, a man who, by most independent accounts, has had every opportunity to thaw this relationship and instead let the Ravek security decision sit on his desk unresolved for far too long. So when the coverage teases a possible reunion somewhere outside London, forgive me if I don't hold my breath. Bad Dad has had chance after chance to actually show up, not for the cameras but for his son, and the clock keeps running out. If it happens, brilliant. Genuinely, nothing would make this channel happier than a real reconciliation. But let's not pretend the burden of making that happen has ever sat anywhere but on one side of this family. And squaddies, you're not the only ones seeing through this. Even in the replies under the original coverage, people were calling it out in real time, pointing out how the reporting always opens with something negative before pivoting to, meanwhile, the working royals, as if there's some kind of rivalry to manufacture, when the truth is, Harry is still the story everyone's actually talking about. One commenter put it about as bluntly as it gets. No matter how hard the institution tries to reroute the narrative, Harry still dominates the conversation, and the so-called competing coverage from the rest of the family reads like an afterthought by comparison. That's not a Sussex squad talking point. That's just what people see when the spin gets too obvious to ignore. So here's where we land, squaddies. This week was supposed to be the week Harry came home to a fresh wave of isolated embattled prince headlines. Instead, what actually happened is he lost a legal case on Tuesday, and by Wednesday he was on a hospital floor in Birmingham, reminding everyone exactly why people fall for him in the first place, while the rest of the institution scrambled to schedule a penguin. That's the real contrast this week. Not Harry versus his family. Harry versus a press machine that still hasn't figured out how to compete with genuine warmth. If this video gave you the receipts you came for, you know what to do. Hit subscribe, ring that bell so you don't miss the next one. Because with Meghan possibly landing in Birmingham tomorrow and the Invictus countdown officially underway, this story is not slowing down. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Harry and his dad actually cross paths this trip? Or is Bad Dad going to run out the clock again? I'll see you in the next one.